Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today I'm going to introduce you to Charles Estienne, or Batta, a French strongman from the Bronze Era who was known for his insane gripping power. And I'm also going to try and attempt some of his feats of strength, including some of his gripping strength feats. But first, an introduction on this gentlemanly strongman of the past. Charles Batta, whose real name was Jean-Baptiste Charles Estienne, was born August 17, 1866 in Lille, France. It was evident as a young boy that he had unusual strength. According to physical culture historians, he was orphaned at an early age. Batta never wanted to be a competitive weightlifter, and instead his ambition was to be a strongman performer, and he would train initially through natural means, climbing and running, wrestling and fighting with other kids. Later, he would train with odd objects like stones, logs and iron, and began to develop his grip power, noticing the sinewy development from his fingertips to the joints of his wrists. And let me just say that this is a very common way in which strongmen develop their gripping power. Using these blob blocks, holding them and gripping them like this really develops the muscles, the strength and endurance of the finger muscles, the wrist muscles, all the hand muscles, wrist muscles, forearms and shoulders even. Realizing he was developing terrifying grip power and a phenomenal moustache, he began to train his grip with 20-kilogram weights after he had become the keeper of weights for a local gymnastics society called La Patriote, which I assume means that he took care of weights and equipment for the local gym. He started his career as a novice at the young age of 15 by performing in local cafes with his famous stunt, where he would tie 3 20-kilogram weights together and would perform a one-hand snatch to lift them overhead together. His earnings came from patrons' donations. Now I'm going to attempt the one-arm snatch, firstly starting off with some fairly light weights like a 7-kilogram kettlebell. And that's pretty easy, as you can see. And I'm going to follow that up with a 12.5-kilogram kettlebell. And now I'm going to try this with 20 kilos, and that's very, very, very difficult. So I'm going to go down in weight. It's hard enough to do one 20-kilogram weight. I'm going to now attempt it with 2 7.5-kilogram kettlebells, each which are approximately 16-17 pounds each, so a total of about 32 pounds. But it's quite difficult because you've got to grip both kettlebells with one hand and snatch overhead. The issue there is that it can go flying away. Both kettlebells could be released from your hand if the grip is not strong enough, and they could go flying away. Batta later joined different troops of traveling athletes. It was not an easy life, and there was no guaranteed income. They traveled by wagon from city to city, performing at fairs and celebrations. He considered this to be his apprenticeship, so to speak. He was quite successful, and over time, and at the height of 5 feet 9.5 inches and weighing 195 pounds, he possessed a lean physique in contrast to the monstrous or bulky strongmen of the time. His physique resembled that of Eugen Sandow, and he became rather famous as a strongman. At his most impressive and peak development at the age of 19, Batta stood 5 foot 9.5, weighing almost 200 pounds with a chest of 49 inches, biceps 17 inches, forearms 14.5 inches, a waist of 33.5 inches, thighs 25 inches, calves 16.25 inches, neck 17.25 inches, and wrists 8.5 inches. Looking at this impressive picture of Batta, we can see every ounce of bone, muscle, and sinew just stand out. Very little fat on his physique. Batta would present this lean but imposing physical appearance at the height of his career. Note his phenomenal cannonball deltoid development and the steel cuts in his triceps. His physique and strength, however, made some of the bigger and more experienced performers envious of his success. One performer called Achilles Muhon, whom he worked alongside with, was publicly humiliated when Batta lifted the 3 20-kilogram weights, which took Achilles several tries before being successful. To prove his overall superiority, Achilles challenged Batta to his own strength feat and was beaten again by Batta. Achilles became so angry that he broke a chair over Batta's head. And you wonder if that's where wrestlers got the idea. While performing in Brussels at the Alcazar Cafe concert, Professor Louis Attila walked in as he was seeking employment at the Alcazar. While waiting for the manager to return, one of Attila's pupils began demonstrating his hand strength using chairs and other objects that were available. He loudly stated that no one could duplicate his feats of hand strength. Batta took the challenge and duplicated all of his lifts, beating the young apprentice. Attila's pupil did, however, become world famous under the name of Eugen Sandow. Known later as the gentleman athlete, Batta was also known as the Emperor of Gripping Power due to his incredible gripping ability, which we'll now look at. I'm also going to demonstrate some of his feats of strength and try not to hurt myself in the process. And yeah, don't try this at home. One of Batta's most incredible feats of gripping strength was that he would hook his pinky finger around a heavy kettlebell and extend his arm straight forward over sharp objects like a dagger or the jagged edges of broken bottles, and proceeded to write his name on the wall in front of them. No one dared to attempt this dangerous feat, not even the great Appalon. Now, one of Batta's most impressive feats of gripping strength was that he would hook his pinky finger onto a heavy kettlebell and extend his arm over sharp daggers, and then, keeping his arm in place, he would write on the wall. Now, of course, I'm not going to do that with sharp pointing daggers, but I've got this kettlebell here. I'm going to try and attempt it with a fairly light kettlebell around my pinky finger and see if I don't knock this kettlebell over. Let's go. Drum roll, please. Hooking, and let's see if I can extend my arm over like so and pretend that I'm riding. Okay, yeah, I mean that requires quite a lot of strength. Obviously, just to hook the weight onto the pinky here. Once you've got it hooked though, it's rather stable, and then you've really got to have a lot of grip and deltoid strength to be able to even attempt to write. Yeah, it's quite difficult. In fact, Batta was known for several strength feats that involved daggers. For example, balancing on one leg and one arm whilst hovering above a bed of sharp daggers. He would press a human or heavy dumbbell overhead. Other feats of strength are also shown. Another feat of strength which Batta was known for was raising a full-grown horse with combined gripping and leg power, an easy feat for Batta. He would perform this feat daily as part of his circus act. This feat was known as a straddle lift and in some way is similar to the belt squat of today. Batta's tree trunk feat. Now here's an interesting one. This especially constructed apparatus required superhuman grip and arm power to pull apart as shown in the image. A bell rang when the tree was pulled wide apart. Many strongmen attempted to duplicate this feat, but no one was able to. Only Batta had the power. In the Tomb of Hercules position, in which one holds a reverse plank and weight is added to show your strength in supporting weight, Batta is said to have supported a ton. Not only that, he would also allow a cannon to be placed on a platform which he would support, and a person would climb up and fire the cannon. Another of Batta's challenges was to place a glass of water, some gold rings and coins, and other jewelry on the seat of a straight back chair. He would then lift the chair with one hand to arm's length by one of the horizontal rungs and not spill any water. He offered what was on the chair to anyone that could duplicate this lift. No one ever did. As you've noticed by now, Batta liked to perform daring strength stunts over daggers, which is why he was also proclaimed the turn of the century Damocles, referencing the sword of Damocles legend, where a sword would hang precariously over Damocles' head, held by a single hair, symbolizing a constant threat. Other than lifting weights or people over daggers, Batta's performances also included a muscle control demonstration. One last feat worth talking about is the following. He would place a 20-kilogram block weight on the back of his hand, and he would straighten out his arm over a needle that was fixated onto a cork in a matchbox, with his arm hovering just 1 centimeter above the needle for 7 to 8 seconds. He would then stand from his chair without bending his arm or leaning his body back, keeping his arm straight. Incredible. So I'm going to try with 5 kilos. Place the block on the back of my hand like so, and try and straighten my arm without touching this kettlebell. And not tipping it over. Let's try again. That's pretty hard. This is fun. Try not to tip it over this time. Come on, 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 come on. Yeah! Alright! Yeah! Now, I mean, that was with a 5 kilogram ring weight, right? You know, much easier than doing it with a 20 kilogram block. Right? This is a block as well. It's a ring weight, but it's a block at the same time. Can you just imagine doing it with a 20 kilogram weight with daggers? Man, that is just insane, insane. He must have been really, really strong to be able to do that. Though primarily a performer, some historians claim Batta could one-arm snatch 154.5 pounds, put overhead 209 pounds with one hand, and hold by the ring a weight of 55 pounds at arm's length. During his performance, he would lift 259 pounds overhead with ease. Now, Batta was known for holding ring weights out to the side, like a crucifix basically, up to 55 pounds. Let's try this out. Let's try with a 5 kilogram weight, maybe a 12, a 20, and even a 55, because I've got an original 55 from the early 1900s. Let's start with 5 kilos, which is about 11 to 12 pounds. Grabbing the same ring weight as before and holding it out. There we go, yeah. Next is my 7.5 kilogram kettlebell, about 17, 18 pounds. Holding it out, yeah, all right. All right, now we're getting serious. 12.5 pounds. That's about 21, 22 pounds. And holding it out to the side. That's hard. That's really hard. Oh. Now here's this big monster, 55. Well, this one's 50 pounds, an original from the 1900s. And just to hold it up here, it's a ring weight, as you can tell. It's an original ring weight. And I need both hands to hold this cannonball. I mean, even trying to lift it onto the side is just impossible. But that's the kind of ring weight that Batta would have held out to the side and held there for several seconds. An incredible strength feat indeed. However, Batta's true strength will never be truly known, as he was never really interested in finding out his true capabilities. His interest lay more in competing with other strongmen in contests of gripping and lifting, of which most he won. The only contest that Batta did not win was against the famous Appalon. He did duplicate one of Appalon's feats by lifting 4 44-pound block weights overhead with one hand, each weight tied to a finger. The accomplishment of this feat is something which few men had earned before. He also cleaned, but did not jerk, Appalon's railroad wheels, an incredible feat in its own right, but even more so due to his light body weight. Appalon was so impressed with Batta that they remained friends for life. Now, some final trivia on how Batta actually acquired his stage name. According to the ancient book on physical culture called Les Rois de la Force, I believe it's pronounced, The Kings of Strength by Professor Despinay, it is said that a colleague of his, a wrestler, exclaimed, "Batta!" after seeing one of his strength feats, and henceforth his stage name, Batta, was born. In case you were wondering what his diet was like and macros, well, first of all, they did not think like that back then. People just ate whatever. But there's information stating that Batta led a regular life, no heavy drinking, but smoking just a little. He was omnivorous, eating a wide variety of foods, and by that I mean eating absolutely everything and drinking a little wine with his meals. So in summary, Batta drank and ate in moderation, and never abusing, and I guess that would be smart, seeing that his life as a strongman was extreme enough. When Batta retired, he ran a successful theatrical agency in Paris. Charles Batta died June the 7th, 1939 at the age of 73 years. And that concludes this video and this look at Charles Batta, Jean-Baptiste Charles Batta, and his very impressive strength feats and gripping strength feats. And I do say impressive because after having tried them myself, As you could probably tell, I'm a little bit sweaty, but it was really fun to try this in the Bronze Era gym. I hope you really enjoyed this video. And I mean, I can really tell you that they are very, very, very difficult. Be very careful. That's why I said, disclaimer, don't try this at home, but if you decide to do it, be very, very careful. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Leave me a comment. What did you think about this video? What did you think about these incredible strength feats from Batta? I mean, amazing, right? I've tried a minimal amount of weight in all of these. Very, very difficult. And finally, did you like the form of this video? Did you like me performing these strength feats in the Bronze Era gym that I've built? Let me know in the comment section. And if you did like it, make sure you tell me. I'll be glad to bring you some more. That's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Head to www.goldenerabookworm.com for the biggest range of classic old school bodybuilding books as ebooks, e-magazines such as Iron Man and Reg Park Journal, high quality bodybuilding posters of the Golden Era stars, merchandise and classic gymwear featuring Steve Reeves, Marvin Eder, John Grimmick, Reg Park, and many other Golden Era stars. For those wishing to build a classic physique, lose fat and build muscle, online training is also available. Collectibles such as rare autographed photos from the Golden Era stars are also available, and to collaborate, please get in touch. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Vince Gironda's approach to bodybuilding, his principles, and all these tips of wisdom that he has, I mean, there's so much stuff that probably hasn't been proven by science, and it will take science to prove or disprove Vince. But to be honest, these 3 books, I believe, which I call the Classic Physique Bundle, are the best books that Vince ever came out with. And they, of course, are the Wild Physique, the Master Series, and the Pro Series. Have a look at it this way. The Wild Physique, I believe, is like the ABCs of Vince Gironda's principles to bodybuilding. He teaches you the exercises and his principles. But how do you put them together? Well, the Master Series is a 14-month program of using all of these principles, all of the diets that Vince came out with, all of the exercises. And of course, the Pro Series was a book that he came out with later on, specially targeted for getting into competition. It's just these 3 books, as I call it, the Classic Physique Bundle, are Vince's best work, and available, of course, at www.goldenerabookworm.com.